like to welcome to the third game of the evening. Up this time is Wooden Sen'Sey, and before you might ask, no, we don't know why Sen'Sey is randomly capitalized like that.
Apparently, Say is the name of the bottles of shit that you're trying to recover, but that doesn't explain anything, really.
I'm like, nor does it explain the pun. Like,
yeah.
Is that another thing that's explained in-game?
Not really, and I didn't get that from in-game so much as from reading the descriptions and other people talking about it.
I see. Anyway, Wooden Sen'Sey is an action platformer set in a unique Japan steam rock universe, filled with humor. You follow Goru, a village chief, as he seeks revenge through a variety of levels. He will defeat his enemies using his axes to slice, dice, squash, and grapple. Wooden Sen'Sey seeks to offer players a unique gaming experience inspired by old-school gameplay mechanisms, while incorporating contemporary technology and beautiful 3D graphics.
Beautiful is pushing it.
Plus, that's a bit of a contradiction there. A unique gaming experience inspired by old-school gameplay mechanisms. Just looking at this game, it doesn't look very unique.
So yes, as you'd expect of a Japanese sensei, or presumably Japanese sensei, wearing one of those conical Japanese hats, our weapons of choice are two axes. You have a 3-hit combo with them, but they're useless for anything other than the most menial of tasks. In order to damage anything but the most basic enemies, you need to use the hook shot ground pound, and most things still take 3 hits with that beyond the most basic stuff. I don't even know if you can kill that ball guy even after you take his helmet off without the ground pound. It does have a bit of an AoE. Almost every enemy in this game does not do contact damage, but their attack animations are sometimes extremely understated. The hooded guys kind of nod a little bit, and that's it. I was able to get this one from the right.
Yeah. I guess...
What?
I don't know if props is the proper word, but, given the... the guy's getting revenge for his drink.
Yes, so the giant black spaceship stole all of the bottles of, I guess, Say from the village, and your character wants to get those back. Also, generally, even when the axe does work, it's not great because the enemies have very minimal short attack animations. Sorry, were you saying something?
Yeah, he looks like a very stereotypical drunken kung fu master type.
Pretty much. I think based on the axes, he's got to be some kind of woodcutter or something. You do also get a grappling hook, which basically works like the grapple beam in Super Metroid. It's actually pretty well implemented generally. The only confusing thing is when you try to use that, because you've been using it for a while instead of using your down slam attack, because it does not really do damage and can only be angled within a bit of straight upwards. Sometimes you will be given shurikens or bombs or something as a ranged weapon. These are nice when you have them. They don't do a lot of damage, but some enemies are obnoxious, especially the enemies who themselves have ranged attacks. Also, you can only do the ground slam once per time in the air. Because otherwise it would be too convenient. Too much like DuckTales Pogo Stick. So yeah, those are the main like mechanics of the game. There are a total of 9 levels. I got to about the end of the second level, but then died because died like 5 times because there was a chain of enemy battles. Because sometimes it does that thing where it locks you to a screen and you don't get to pass until you've cleared all the enemies. Where the last phase was 2 of the enemies that throw shurikens, and I ran out of shurikens, which I didn't know was a thing that could happen because I wasn't paying attention to the ammunition number, I guess.
Yeah, this game like it wants to be Klonoa, like,
and
with its camera, like it's doing that, 2.5D, but kind of cinematic with the
the
camera.
camera's okay. It's not the thing I have a problem with here. But yeah, anyway, the guys with the shurikens, it's rather difficult to not get killed by them when you don't have a ranged attack. Or at least that is how I found it. The controls are not super perfect either. Anyway, upon beating a level, you are ranked based on whether you completed it in time, whether you collected all of the bottles in the level. There are lots of these, and some of them are missable if you destroy the thing that would have let you get to them, and many of them are inside random rocks that are completely unmarked. And then you get achievements for if you killed all of the enemies in a level and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, it's pretty straightforward beyond that. And yeah, you go through the levels to get your stuff back. It's not the challenge is generally decent, but sometimes there's more like death pits or cheap attack, and the enemies that throw shurikens can throw them when they are still off screen. And you do not get you do not get much health. And while there are health pickups that you can pick up, they're not super common. So, yeah. I don't think this is strictly speaking a bad game, but it is pretty simplistic, and honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of I found some of the controls a little bit
not good,
a little bit clunky.
Unfortunate.
I mostly was playing with D-pad rather than stick, which I think I still didn't have any problems with the grappling hook, ironically. Oh, also, I was playing this on Steam with an Xbox controller, and the default controls were something like face button left jump, face button top attack, start button grappling hook, right trigger ranged weapon. Anyway, I had to map it to the sane configuration of face button south B jump, face button west B attack.
Right.
Before I even got much into the first stage.
Mine did that by default.
I don't know, maybe it liked your controller better. It didn't seem to know that my controller was an Xbox controller either, because it was just calling them button numbers instead of...
Are you letting Steam deal with your controller settings?
This is the sound of me not understanding what other alternative there would be.
You can disable it and let the game sort it out.
Yeah,
If
there's
by default Steam does it on its own, for old games you need to disable that, because...
It said it was fully compatible, so I
Yes.
assumed it was fully compatible.
Because it's not understanding, it's not an Xbox 360 pad. It's looking for that and not the raw Xbox, the raw stuff. Anyway,
it worked. It was just a little bit awkward, and be advised of that.
Right.
And yes, Petty is having trouble with the grappling hook segment. Thankfully, I didn't, but I can understand having that.
Well, I'm also not really trying, so...
Yeah. Likewise, not seriously trying to collect all of the bottles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I don't think I didn't get super far, but I do feel like I saw almost everything the game has to offer, aside from whatever it has for boss fights. And there was some cool stuff. Yeah, this is where you get the shurikens. And at first I thought you needed to use it for some of this stuff, but I probably should have saved it for dealing with the guys that, shoot at you, because then you can approach them from approximately the same range at least. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got. How much is it, Adam? Because that does make it. Oh, and as Petty said, it's kind of loud. The music is about what you'd expect for a game that wears being Asian on its shoulders. Also, the character doesn't. There's no real in-game text. It includes instances of Chinese or Japanese text, but as far as I can tell, it's just use of random characters that don't actually convey any relevant meaning together.
It's one of those.
Or at least nothing relative. And the dialogue sounds are definitely sounds Japanese, but wasn't anything recognizable. So if you go around the outside of this, just for an idea of the kind of problem solving for this, and I noticed this when I noticed there was a second level door on these things on the first one. You can climb up to the top on the outside and hammer, and if you do the ground pound, the AoE reaches far enough to kill the little guy. Yeah. And then you can get up there. Now, if I hadn't seen the item on top, I wouldn't have tried it, because on the first time you see this structure, there's an invisible wall that keeps you from getting on the top of it. So, consistency.
What's that?
Yeah. I think it's pretty harmless, but I don't think it's good. What are they charging for it, Adam?
So this is being charged at $9.99, regular edition. It's got a soundtrack for $3.99 and $11.99 for the bundle.
Bundle with what?
The soundtrack.
Oh.
That's a noise.
I don't know if I'd pay that for it. This is like a $5 game to me.
I'm I suppose another thing, or perhaps the most important thing, depending on your perspective, to mention about this game is it's not Japanese, it's not even Asian. Guess where this game was developed?
The Netherlands, I don't know.
Brazil.
You're not... Petty was closer. France.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently the developer of this game is French.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm sorry if the way I phrased it made me imply that the game is Asian. I meant that the game is very explicitly Asian styled. Right. But I do feel it's worth mentioning that this game isn't actually Chinese, Japanese, Korean.
To some people, that is a major insult, I want to say.
Right.
Especially because it's noticed that there are some, let's call it iconography or like, characters that are just being used because they're Asian-esque, not
Yeah.
properly.
But it's like it's there's a deeper conversation to be had about that, because it's also, we don't know the makeup of the developer. Yes,
Yeah.
it was made in France, but it's like, the default assumption is that a bunch of white guys made this.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. It's like, it is possible that some Asian expats that are living in France could have made this game. It's like, we do not know.
And they are like real characters. They just don't seem to be like. It's not like telling you what to do in Japanese, as far as I can tell.
Plus, given our own status as, well, American white guys, it's not really our place to say how much cultural appropriation may or may not be done here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm just going to mention that it is a potential concern, though.
Yeah. Because some people that rubs harder than others.
Yeah. Otherwise, this seems like a mostly middle of the road platformer. Like,
yeah,
outside of some fudginess with the controls.
Yeah, like I said, not bad, but it could be a lot better.
Like, probably not going to remember this game in a week kind of deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not bad enough to end up on our worst of list.
No. Anyway, so, yeah, I guess that'll about do it for Wooden Sen'Sey here. Be sure to tune in after the break as we review Tricky Towers.